It's a Triple Threat podcast. Here we are. We're going to do some stuff and talk about things. Music. Hi, welcome everybody to the Triple Threat podcast. It's me, Matt. I am Matt. I'm here in Halifax.
Me, Matt. I am Matt. I will be Matt.
That imposter is Alex, also in Halifax.
Yeah, you're not Matt, Alex.
We're blood related. That's Will in Vancouver. We're also blood related.
Do we know that for sure?
And we have a podcast. All signs point to yes, Alex.
All signs point to yes.
I'm gonna
That's
say,
what the Magic 8 Ball said when I asked.
the
I said, are Will, Matt, and I blood related? And it said all signs point to yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a resounding yes on that one.
Okay.
Resounding. Okay, you're much more confident than Alex is.
You're right. He
100% related.
was not Run the Jewels-esque. It was like Scott Aukerman-esque.
It was very. Oh, sorry. It was very much inspired by
Hollywood Facts?
Yep. By one Mr.
Going down to Inglewood now.
So yeah, this is our podcast, Triple Threat Podcast. We are going to be talking about punching people. We're going to talk about the watches and cars. We're going to talk about other people punching people, and folks,
We'll talk
it's
about-
going to be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll talk about. It's just my Lamborghini. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills. That friggin'
You're in Hollywood?
No, that friggin'. Have you guys not seen that ad on YouTube? That friggin' guy? Yeah, I said frig. I
Oh
apologize.
wait, yes, I've seen about 5 seconds. What is that about?
I've seen about 5 seconds of it, as
Okay,
hopefully most people did. I decided to
seems
watch
like-
that whole thing, and just it gets worse by the second. He's just like,
Have you seen the one for like the eye face massager?
no.
I don't
How
even
does that
know
sound?
what to. It was the weirdest pre-roll ad I've ever seen. And you should. It was so bizarre. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, pre-roll ads. I hate them so much.
No, it's just this guy's just like, go to my website, and I got the 3 things you need to know, basically to be as successful and great as him. And
No,
so,
I
yeah,
definitely
it seems
have.
unlikely.
I definitely haven't seen that for a while. I was only getting Mike Chang ones, which was super annoying.
Wait, is he a bodybuilder?
Six-pack.
Yeah, he's like an
Six-pack
Asian
shortcut.
kind of bodybuilder. Yeah, six-pack
Asian
shortcuts.
kind of.
And there's one where he was
Asian.
like eating food. He's like, "Hey guys,"
Yeah.
and I was like, just freaking out, just losing my mind.
Yeah,
like
it's like-
listening to someone else chew is the worst thing. It's worse than hearing someone else whistle.
You don't like hearing
Like
someone
whistling?
else whistle?
No, I love whistling. I hate the sound of other people whistling.
Really?
Yeah, it drives me insane.
I just don't like the dumb look on people's face when they whistle, Just
I don't like the dumb look on people's faces.
Period.
Period. And it's
Yeah.
sentence.
Yeah, dumb people's faces. Speaking of dumb people's faces, something that people often want to do to dumb people's faces is punch them. And Alex, you have some...
Especially you, Matt. You're the only one who's threatened to punch another member of this show in the face.
Who? When? What?
Me, when we were children.
Yeah, you threatened poor little
When
Alex's poor little
we wore
face.
younger men's clothings.
We were younger.
Clothings and stuff.
Actually,
This
it was
before
probably
we drank,
it was probably my
before we
clothing.
drank tonic and gins, though.
That's right.
Tonic engines.
Yes,
Well, I'm engines, just to be clear.
engines.
Like Thomas.
And, right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not really sure where you're going with that. But anyway, Alex, you want to talk a little bit about
the children's show.
UFC, Mini Pacquiao or Pacquiao. Am I right?
I really,
Pacquiao.
Nope. I hope that was a joke.
Yeah,
It was-
yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I know I
Awesome.
am talking. I am mispronouncing the things you want to talk about, but I know how to say the things you want to talk about.
Yes. Okay.
You have to
Money
ask
may
if it's
watch.
a
I mean, I don't
joke.
really have too much to add other than I meant to mention how finally, 5 years too late, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao are finally fighting each other. So that's going to be good. I mean, like 4 or 5 years ago, it was going to be the biggest fight of all time. And now, I mean, it's really the only good boxing fight left in the entire sport, I think.
Right.
I don't know if you guys know anything about
So
it.
why-
Do you know how much money Mayweather's going to make? Literally $100 million off this fight, at least.
That's insane.
Off-
Win,
off this
win,
one
win
fight.
lose, or draw, he's going to make $100 million.
Exactly.
That seems,
That-
yeah.
is
that-
that like the
$100
most you
million.
can make? Is he like able to make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time than anyone on earth, except for anybody who did like an initial public offering?
If
You
you're
know what I mean?
talking just
can
like
somebody do that without going public.
So if you're talking about just like how long it takes for, like, say, a 15-round fight, 3-minute rounds, 30 seconds in between or whatever, so it's like an hour, so $100 million in that hour. But if you count all the lead up to it and all the press conferences and stuff like that, I mean, it ends up being probably 4 or 5 months of work plus all the work that got him to this point. So it's hard to calculate.
Does he actually get paid for the press conference?
No, but it's just
You
like, do
must.
actors get paid to do promotion?
You know what? You've won me over, Alex. You are the most persuasive person on this podcast. I make points. You disagree with them. You raise better ones.
I can't tell if that's sarcasm or not.
I'm not being sarcastic. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm being genuine.
Yeah, so, I mean, legitimately, do you get paid for that? No, but it all adds up.
it all goes to it.
Yeah, you get paid for that fight. You don't see money till you get that fight, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. I mean, there's a lot that goes into just getting to that point. So I agree, it's an obscene amount of money when you work out like, oh, he's got paid $100 million for an hour's work, but you kind of gotta put it all together. At the same time, like I still don't quite understand how boxing is worth that much now because it's not nearly as popular as anything.
Yeah, it's not that
Is this
popular.
pay-per-view?
No, I think it's more. I think fighting, like the reason why UFC has kind of had such a surge in popularity and boxing and stuff like that, is it's internationally, universal. I guess in a way, everyone likes fighting.
Violence is
all different
universal.
countries. Yeah,
Just
and
punching each other, people are on board.
It is.
I mean, Dana White used to always say that George St. Pierre was the most popular Canadian athlete there was. And people would be like, what about Wayne Gretzky? He's like, yeah, but if Wayne Gretzky, he's not getting mauled in the Philippines like George St. Pierre is. Like, people go crazy where they see him anywhere in the world.
But when you think, I mean, like, yeah, I get, but like in Canada, couldn't he mostly walk down the streets of Halifax or Vancouver and be unrecognizable?
GSP?
Yeah.
No, God,
I would
no.
not know him to see him at all. I would not know him.
Yeah, but there's no way. He would be, I mean, even, like, I think a hockey player would be much less noticeable. Because he's, at least you have your helmet on or something like that. Just like a football player, too, is like, if you're not the most famous football player, you're not there. But as a fighter, I mean, you're always kind of exposed in that sense. He would be mauled wherever he went in the country and then in the U.S. and then elsewhere.
When he was in the that Captain America movie, I was like, oh, who is that? I feel like I should know who that is.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not. I mean, it's not something you're into, so I can kind of understand that.
Yeah, you don't
But
want
at the
fighting.
same time. I feel like even like casual fans would be into that, and women are kind of really into him because he's like ripped.
Is he cute though?
Is he cute though? He's not my type, but
Okay, fair enough.
That's just me. That's just
All right.
me.
Yeah,
so
he's
I
a
don't know.
little
Like
small for me.
Pacquiao's probably going to get 50 to 75 million. Like the money off this fight is going to be absurd. It's going to be absolutely absurd, and probably less than it would have been 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so that's my question is why now? It's because like, well, if we don't do it now, then we'll never do it. So we might as well make hay while the sun is setting, so to speak.
Exactly.
While shining, well, do I?
Yeah. Okay. My metaphor means that the sun's setting, so before it completely goes away, you got to make some hay. Otherwise, it'll be night, and you can't make hay
Before
at
it
night.
goes away, you best make some hay.
What do you say?
What
I
do
just
you
may.
say?
Hey.
Anyway,
So-
I
so
don't know
that
when
was
that
the-
is. I think that's early May or something like that. So 2 or 3 months away, but it's going to be 2 months away now if that's when it is. Entirely sure what it is, to be honest with you. So
In Vegas,
Anyway.
right?
Oh yeah, almost certainly MGM Grand.
All right, man. Let's go.
Them more than
the
UFC
flights.
seem to have their. I don't know. I could look that up. Like Pacquiao fought at Cowboy Stadium, or was going to. So who knows where this one's going to go? I guess unlike UFC, don't have to worry about sanctioning, which they're fine with now.
At
Because
Cowboy
UFC,
Stadium.
like a thing was getting anything sanctioned. Like New York State, still illegal to have MMA fighting in New York State.
And what's the reason for that? What is the actual lettering of that law? Do we know?
No, I don't know. The general argument being that it's a barbaric sport.
They should have
I
like.
don't know what the letter of the law is in that sense, but that's the argument.
So they have like the Scottish Highland Games, right? Where the
Yeah.
caber toss and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Did they have one for Vikings? They're like the Nordic Games or something.
Hey man, okay.
'Cause I wanna
the problem
see
is
that
one of those
sport-
competitions would be not allowed. Raping and
That's true,
pillaging?
yeah.
Not
But I
okay.
want to see. I mean, not obviously they're pillaging, etc. But like maybe to train to pillage, you have to. I don't know.
I imagine
carry
there
a
would
boat
be
or
some sort
something.
of training thing.
Drink a fjord.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
those.
didn't you see
those
the guy
sports
who
would be
plays
barbaric.
the guy who plays the Mountain in Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah,
I heard that he broke a record.
He broke like
an
a
old Viking
1,000-year-old record.
Yeah.
that's crazy.
He's like, yeah, he put a 9,000-pound thing on his back and walked 5 steps, and no one's done that in 1,200 years. And the guy who did it died of a broken back a couple hours later. And you're just like, and he was fine. So yeah, that guy is absolutely ridiculous.
Was it actually
And he used to
9,000
be-
pounds?
No, I don't know. It's probably like
I was gonna say, I was thinking that
probably
doesn't
like
sound
1,200 or 1,500 pounds. But
A
what's
lot,
funny
though.
about that is he used to be a basketball player.
Really?
Yeah,
Man.
like way back in the day before getting into fighting, and then lifting, strongman competition, and then he hurt his knee, I think, so he couldn't jump and things like that.
So he rehabbed, and he was like, "I like this," and he kept going. He was like, "I really like this." And
So
he's like,
weird.
"Oh."
Like even some guys are like, well, I used to be into football, then I hurt my knee, so I became a mixed martial arts fighter. And you're like, is that okay? If that's
Is that better?
different
Is
that
that
you can do
necessarily
Yeah.
better? Is that a good
They'd be
option?
like, I became a painter or something like that. You know what I mean? Or like I became a cobbler. I used to make shoes with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, or I play guitar or something, and I sit in a chair. That makes sense. I broke my knee, so I got into singing.
Exactly.
And
So now I smash the same knee into people's faces.
express myself. Yeah,
I mean,
guess.
Austin had terrible knees before he was ever in wrestling, I want to say.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure he did. I mean, of course.
Talking
Then you hear
Stone
about
Cold Steve Austin.
Ric Flair, who
Sorry,
not the $6 Million Man. No, actually, no. Steve Williams is $6 Million Man, which is Steve Austin's birth name that they had to change. What was I going to say? Oh shoot, I got thrown off by Steve Austin. Oh damn it, son. That's fine. Oh yeah, no. Ric Flair broke his back in like '76. I mean, and he kept wrestling, in a plane crash. Yeah, he wrestled throughout the crash.
So the next thing I want to talk about once we're done with the boxing, which I think we are, is the UFC 184 from Saturday night with the main event of Rowdy Ronda Rousey against Kat Zingano. And I didn't see it, but I read it up on it yesterday. And as much as they build up this fight, Ronda Rousey won in 14 seconds.
By submission, not by knockout.
By
submission?
Yeah.
So she just get close and then
I'm
just
literally
destroy
looking
her?
at a GIF right now of that entire fight.
Yeah.
And one, like, Giphy cat.
And when
It's just like she comes at her, they both kind of take each other down. Rousey gets on top and puts her in this weird armbar.
and
So
she taps right
I don't
away.
know why. Like you think in 14 seconds, you think it's a knockout. Like how much can happen in 14 seconds?
Yeah.
Apparently, quite a lot of action. She's a
Yeah.
beast, man. What is she now? Ronda Rousey is She's 11-0, and I'll read you her fights from bottom up. It won't take
She's
long,
only
just in terms
been-
of the finish.
Yes.
She's only been in 11. That's crazy.
Yeah.
UFC is like, you can be in 11 fights and as long as they've been important.
So armbar, first fight ever, armbar, 25 seconds. Second fight, armbar, 49 seconds. Third fight, armbar, 25 seconds. Fourth fight, armbar, 39 seconds. Armbar in 4 minutes and 27 seconds. Armbar
Ronda.
in 54 seconds. Armbar in 4 minutes and 49 seconds. Armbar, that took 3 rounds, so it was the first
Whoa.
minute of the third round.
Gosh, she was probably sweating.
TKO in a minute and 6, then a KO in 16 seconds, and then an armbar in 14 seconds.
Can I ask a
Don't let
real
her
quick-
touch your arm.
Can I ask a real quick question?
Yes.
Difference between a TKO
You can
and
ask a
KO?
slow question, whatever you want. So knockout is when you're actually unconscious, and a TKO would be more to rough stoppage due to being unable to defend yourself. So you're out of it, but you're not knocked out. You're technically knocked out.
I'm glad you asked that question, Matt. I've always wanted to ask it, but I've been too ashamed to let people know that I don't know what those things mean. So I never asked.
I'm proud to be a UFC no knowledge haver person because then I can just be a blank.
Same with the
canvas.
English language, apparently.
I'd argue with you if I had any
language
evidence to the
having person.
contrary. Yeah.
So yeah, knockout is when
They're
you're
not-
physically knocked unconscious, and a technical knockout
Sorry,
would be while you're on the
I'm
verge
focusing
of it.
I'm focusing on the less important part of that those stats, which are those results, which is that touch your arm, you're dead, you die.
And she's kind of, unfortunately, in that position where there's not a lot of people to put her up against anymore. Like she's fought Misha Tate twice. I think this is her second fight against Kat Zingano, and she's it's not a deep division at all, at all. And there's
So
a
does
couple
US
weight classes, so.
Is UFC just going to go around to the gym, find really jacked women, and be like, "Hey, do you want to fight people? Because we kind of need somebody."
3 years ago, you'd never think the UFC would have women fighting, by the way. Like, they never wanted that, ever.
Why was it just demand that made it happen? Or
It was just kind of, I think, the fact of kind of gender equality. It's dumb to really have that position. It's kind of an antiquated mindset. And the women, they want to fight. What are you going to do to stop them from fighting? And the quality of fights get better in terms of like Rousey and a couple other girls are pretty ridiculous. So they're super entertaining fights because they want to go out there and prove themselves. Some UFC fighters will go out there and fight not to lose, and the girls will go out there just to put on a show because they want to prove that they're worthy of being in that octagon. So they're hungry for the win, but also just kind of validation. There's this 37-year-old female fighter who tried to get on Ultimate Fighter. I know, Matt, you're trying to say something.
No,
they wouldn't let her on the show, and she just went out and kept fighting and got on the show, and now she's like running through the divisions, like at 37.
That's impressive. That's
So-
also it. Also shows your kind of the drive there. All I was going to say was I was thinking like I don't know if I'd really want to see women fighting, but then I thought I don't really like seeing men fighting UFC, so I don't know if it really matters what gender they are.
Yeah,
Man.
exactly. You just don't like
It's
fighting.
like seeing people get pummeled. I don't know how much it really matters.
And I understand that kind of aversion to it in a way, but it's still like kind of an antiquated mindset in a way. I mean, not that I'm saying it's like an ingrained mindset against. You just kind of have to fight against that thing. Anyway, that's all it is on fighting. So I'm done for the show. I'll catch you guys later.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Oh, jeez. Okay,
I'll
yeah.
finish on the flip
Yeah, I
side.
didn't know you were out.
Just a two for now.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool. All right.
Anyway, Ronda Rousey's
right.
ridiculous, and in the new Entourage movie. So that's another reason to not see it.
Yeah, she was in Expendables 3.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Can she
Was
act?
Gina Carano an MMA fighter?
Yes.
Yes.
Did she ever fight Rousey?
No, they're
What's
in different
stopping her? Come on,
weight
do it.
classes, and now that Gina Carano was like an actor, like why would she ever go back?
Yeah, I say that only because I know Gina Carano from the movie Haywire, Soderbergh's Haywire. I want to say if that's right.
Yes,
That's the one, yeah.
That's actually pretty good.
Haywire.
I don't even think got really a theatrical release, which I thought was kind of odd. I just caught it online one day, and I was like, okay, there you go, stylistic.
Is Channing Tatum in that in like a small role?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fassbender's in a small role. McGregor in a small role. Yeah. Okay.
I feel
All
like I've
that's
seen
right.
the movie, but like completely forgot about it.
One thing
Yeah,
I'll
I
say
saw
about
the-
Rowdy Ronda is that she's very charismatic, but she's not a good actress. Like, she'll only be able to play, in Entourage, she basically plays herself. In Expendables, she plays like, kind of a cooler version of herself. But nobody in the Expendables is really a well-written character. But no, she's not good, unfortunately.
I feel like Terry Crews must play a less cool version of himself because I feel like Terry Crews is already kind of.
Now, my question about Terry Crews is, and I have his muscle.
How can I be his friend?
Well, no, and I have his muscle. He doesn't want to be my friend. I have his muscle and fitness, or I have the issue of muscle and fitness with him on the cover. My question is, was he an actor first or a in shape guy first? I'm not sure exactly what his background is.
I think he was.
He was an NFL player.
Yeah, he played in the NFL, and there was a really interesting interview with him on Fallon once where he was in the NFL, and I think at the same time he was kind of getting into courtroom art, like instead of photography.
Yes.
Because he hurt his
He has an
his
amazing
knee,
story.
right? He hurt his knee and he decided to get
Maybe,
into
but the
painting.
thing was, he was in the NFL, and he was like kind of like bouncing around between practice rosters and kind of at the end of 53 man. And he to get money while he was kind of bouncing back and forth, he would draw pictures or kind of paint these guys like bigger players on the team, and they charged him a bunch of money because he was like, "Hey, do you want like a really cool painting of yourself playing football?" And they were like, "Hell yeah, I do." He's like, "Okay, sure." So he just made
So
it.
it's kind of like a Titanic thing where he just puts them on a couch and paints them.
You want a portrait of yourself by Terry Crews? One portrait. Don't need the Louvre starter set.
What a strange thing to offer your teammates. You guys
Just
just
painting of yourself.
you guys just in the locker room in your towels be like, "Hey man,
One life-size portrait.
why don't you put on your gear and I'll draw you."
Oh,
Put on-
whoa, you.
You just stay in that Heisman pose
You want
for
one
like
life-size bust of yourself in your hallway? One bust.
that's all you need.
One sculpture.
One bust, one sculpture. That's all you need.
Thanks, Herm.
Oh my gosh!
What a strange career path. So what took him to acting? He's like, well, man, if I can draw guys on the football field, I can be on
I can
a
act.
movie.
I
Yeah,
can play
act.
football, and I think it's just ambition, isn't it? And kind of like charisma in a way that he just kind of, maybe goes out for one thing or another. I don't know. Like, I don't think he went to acting school.
Because he plays, he's a big, very
big dude.
ripped individual.
Yeah.
What led him to comedy? Because he was on Everybody Hates Chris before Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, he was in a couple. Yeah, he did a few different things. See, this is one of those things where you'd be like, this sounds like we're kind of ratcheting out to be like, you know what? We don't have the answer to this, but welcome to the show, Terry Crews. Just talk to him about it and be like,
He just said he's not my friend. He's not going to show up. Oh wait, here he is now. No, I can't do an impression of him.
I'm open to friendship with him in
refuse.
the end. Yeah,
Power. His Old Spice commercials were pretty good.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Ray Lewis
were
did some good ones too. No, I was
pretty
just
good.
curious. And I should read that article about Terry Crews. I did read the Muscle and Fitness with Vince on the cover, and Vince has an interesting opinion that I sort of share on.
Ooh, that's dangerous. That's dangerous to share an opinion with Vince McMahon. Just to be clear.
Oh, sorry. I guess if you're the head of a, I know he's a millionaire, should be a billionaire, but he has done quite.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. If you're supposed to be a billionaire, you're a billionaire.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Well, it's the line CM Punk said about him on his own show. Burn.
Okay.
Yeah, burnt. Yeah, he when he does his, he's very into bodybuilding. When he does his cheat meals, he says he goes too far. He's like, he eats too much because then he feels bad the next day. And he's like, that's why I don't cheat. It's like anytime I have fast food, I'm just like, oh man, I hope I feel really bad after this fast food. I hope it makes me feel really sick, just so I realize why I don't eat fast food all the time.
I think that's the thing. Like, I find that the guilt of eating poorly sometimes is completely out. Like, the pleasure of that is completely outweighed by the guilt afterwards. Like French fries.
But you don't.
Yeah, you don't realize it in the moment.
How do you remind yourself of the guilt beforehand? That's the question. That's what keeps you away from it, right? If you're just like, I'll feel guilty, like right before you do it, you're like, I feel guilty, but also chocolate. So, we got that going for me. I need like pain the next day. Maybe that's why, I try not to drink as much as I used to. Or I can just wake up the next day and punch myself in the stomach. I'm not throw it up, not purge. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying that for me, I stopped over at the BK Lounge the other night, and I was like, here we go. Okay, well, I'll have something here. And the next day I felt I just missed the cutoff. It was like after midnight on Wednesday. And if you ever go to BK, so no Whoppers for me.
Okay, actually, something stupid about Burger King. If I come to your restaurant at 12:01 on what used to be a Tuesday is now a Wednesday, you gotta sell me that Whopper.
Yeah,
you gotta do it, because if you're not gonna do it right after midnight on Wednesday, you're kidding yourselves.
Now, here's the question: why are you at Burger King at 12:01 on a Thursday?
Doesn't matter. Next question.
Next question. Well, I got a 24-hour BK.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I got a 24-hour. Hey, it's copyrighted. I got a 24-hour BK in town, and that's a good place to hit if you've had a couple of multi beverages at your local establishment, your local Commodore or whatever what have you. What am I trying
Commodore
to say?
64.
Venue.
Sure,
Commodore is it's a club in town. Anyway.
We've been there.
See a show.
And you know what? In a few months, when you go to the club, you might start looking around and seeing some guys trying to show off their new Apple Watches.
Yes, Matt, you wanted to talk.
Wow, good segue.
They're getting worse, but go on
worse.
about the watch. It's okay. Go on about the watch.
Don't worry. In about 10,000 more podcasts, I'll be pretty good at this.
I can say it'll get better, but so far it's getting worse. But okay, so the Apple Watch, Matt. What
they're going to have an Apple Watch event coming up in about a week's time or so. They're going to have one where they actually do some more unveiling about it, go through a little bit more of what an Apple Watch does, what its battery life is, what the price is, which is a big sticking point for people these days.
Everybody get your Samsung watches out and set the time for next week when Apple does their event.
Well, here's one of the whole idea of smartwatches. I don't know what you guys think about it. I'd love to hear about it, but it never really interested me.
Yeah.
I have an analog Citizen Eco Drive watch that I got on a very good deal after Christmas one year. It never needs a new battery because it's powered by the sun. Ooh. And I don't ever feel like I needed a watch that is a quote unquote smartwatch. What do you guys take on that? What do you think?
Well, what I'll say is that I remember years ago when I was a kid, I wanted a Timex Indiglo Ironman watch that was 50 meters set for whenever I went diving, which was
because you even then you were a big diving fan, and even more so now. You are always out diving.
I'm just diving, man. I'm just like, hey, man, want to go diving? I'm like, nah, I can't. I got.
Like, do you want to dive around 49 meters or so, Will? And you're like, no, bro, 50 or bust.
50 or bust, son.
But then 51, then you get really bust. That watch is busted, and you say, I don't even know how much water.
As Jerry's, Seinfeld would say, I'm fresh out of oxygen, and look at the time. As he looks at his watch, but I remember the Iron Man watch, and I had a couple of them throughout the years. I think I might have one that I
He's not talking about the comic book hero, by the way, everyone.
It's just the Timex brand,
or the subject of the Black Sabbath song, or the famous wrestler that Tim made famous back in the day. World famous. I think I might have the broken watch somewhere in a drawer here, but I used to be a big watch guy. I used to really be into having a watch on my wrist at all times, and now I have not owned a watch in years, and my wrist feels great. But I don't know about watches right now. I see some cool looking watches, but I'm like, I don't know about watches. They're a lot. Like, if you want a decent one, if you read GQ magazine, you're like, hey, a T-shirt, Calvin Klein, $25. Watch,
You're a quarterly gentleman.
yeah. If a watch is by Citizen, $30,000 or something like that. I don't know. Whatever the Omega ones that James Bond has.
Tag Heuer, yeah,
Tag
Omega.
Heuer.
Yes.
Yeah, the Omegas, like those are all awesome looking watches. I will gladly accept one if someone wants to gift one to me. I just can't see myself in a position to be like, yes, I need to spend more than $50 on this thing. I don't know. Alex, you have a watch? You have a watch?
Yeah, I have an Invicta.
Okay, so
Yeah.
not to like get down to brass tacks, but how much? Like, was it expensive? Was it considered nice? Is it black?
I mean,
I like
it's-
black watches. Those look.
It's
nice.
all black everything.
Yeah, see, those look good.
I didn't spend a lot on it, but apparently it's worth a lot more than I spent. So
Okay, see, that's good. That's fine. That's
pay like
that's
$100. Apparently, where it's worth like $500. But all Invictas are like that, so I think that's just their marketing plan. Like it's worth
Yeah.
$700, but it's only $100, and you're like,
Yeah.
I think that's just what you do.
Yeah, Timex
It's always
did the
calling
same
out
thing.
on this.
Timex
It's
did the
always
same
on sale.
thing.
It ain't never on sale.
There's a lot of stuff I won't pay a lot of money for. Watches and sunglasses fall into that range. I like them both, but I'm either going to break them or lose them, so I don't really want to spend a ton of money on them.
Or an umbrella. I've made the mistake of going to. There's a couple of nice umbrella stores in town. It's like, yeah, we'll fix your umbrella for only $5, no matter what's wrong with it. We'll fix it and whatever. It's like, great, because umbrellas break all the time, right? Well, they do if you own them for long enough before they get stolen. And I've had a couple stolen, and I've had a couple lost. And I'm like, okay, so I can't buy these fancy umbrellas anymore. The one I have right now,
You can't,
knock on wood.
Can you fix my umbrella? Sure, where is it? Funny story.
Last scene.
First
with
thing, I need you to find the guy who
Gentlemen,
has
5
it. Yeah, find the guy who has
5'12"
it.
and 6'1".
Beat the crap out of him and take my watch back, please. And then it's got like a little dangly thing on the side there. You want to just stitch up that
And it's a thing in the stock that tells time.
yeah. Yeah, but Timex did the same thing. It's like on the little stand, it's like you get it at Zeller's for $40, and on the stand, it's like it's actually worth $150. It's like, is it? Is it really? Where?
There's
Where
no-
is
yeah,
it
there's
worth
no
it?
way.
Where is it worth $150? The Timex
Now-
store. I can't imagine you guys are doing great business.
Now, do you guys know how much the Apple Watches are supposed to be?
Well,
They've
that's
announced
supposed to be
one
anything,
price. I wonder if you know it.
because they're not
What's
out
that?
yet.
Well, no, they've announced one though.
Okay, so they announced one.
Yeah, the lowest price, like if you want to get the bottom of the barrel, just being held together, tin and crap watch, $349.
Okay, wow. I get,
$349. Now, the interesting thing that people are talking about is there's a gold watch, the edition watch is what it's called. And because it's made of 18 karat solid gold,
Oh, God.
there's a good chance it'll cost well over $10,000.
yeah, and James, Bond will use that in his next movie.
No, man, it's still got that Omega money.
No, he's got the Omega money. You're right.
Yeah, so they're gonna announce the Apple Watch, something that I'm still not really convinced I will want or need, especially for that price. Like one that I would actually want with a nice strap and everything like that would be, $500 or more, and it would also be outdated technology wise in probably a couple years.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. If we can monetize this podcast somehow, and make a big killing, get that Amazon hookup, get that Stamps.com, NatureBox,
Mail hit.
him.
Sheep?
Okay, so now you know what I'm talking about. For God's
No.
sake.
we'll
I
get there. We'll get there.
didn't,
We'll
but
get
we'll
there.
get
We'll
there.
get there.
Sorry,
We'll
Matt.
get there.
Sorry, Matt.
So when we make a bunch of money, we'll get those for sure. One other thing I wanted to talk
When we make
about.
a bunch of money, then we'll get those.
We'll get those.
Yeah.
Through. Yeah, that's
Sorry,
what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
think
Yeah,
that's
well,
not unreasonable.
we'll gift it to
One of the-
ourselves.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, something that is kind of been really interesting in terms of, I am a big Apple fan. I follow the Apple rumor mill, and one that came out in the last couple of weeks that at first I was like, no, but then I was like, oh, was the
Your
Was
no
it possible?
lasted long enough. You're like, no. Nice, yeah.
was the possibility of Apple making a car, which went from making a car.
No.
Going from, when I initially thought, there's no way that'll happen, and then I read multiple articles about here. Not only are they making a car, here's a list of at least 15 people they've poached from Tesla and other car industries in the last 6 months or so. And it's
They poach Elon.
starting to get-
They got Elon.
They don't
Oh,
even have
Elon
to.
sold it.
Why? They don't even have to. He opened up all his patents.
Oh, yeah.
well, it's not. I mean, his patents are fine. They want engineers who can build things and think things through and build a power drive.
Oh my God! I'll work
Need
for you
more
at
men.
half the cost, and I can't do any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
can't
the-
build
the-
things or think things through, but I'm cheap labor.
So we actually something so I have an Apple computer. Most of the fact that I have a MacBook was born out of the fact that Will had a MacBook, and the fact that Will had one made me decide, you know what, I'm definitely going to get a MacBook when when the time comes for me to get to university, and I did exactly that. So I'm wondering, we all have kind of a history with Apple iOS products and things like that nature.
Well, did I have the
what's
MacBook before
funny-
you did?
No, he did.
I think I did because I had the white one that like stained really bad, and I think we'll get the newer version.
I had
that
that one.
didn't.
No, but I had that one too, Alex. He had it before.
Oh, okay. I thought
Alex
Well, what year?
first. Alex got his first, and then I got
Yeah,
mine.
that's what I
What?
thought.
I got mine in.
My
I got mine
manager
in
at Future
06.
Shop. Yeah, my manager at Future Shop was huge into Apple. Like Apple kind of came out with those new, not the MacBook Pros. What were those?
They were MacBooks,
Just
white-
MacBooks.
Just
At
MacBooks.
First,
They had
were
the two white ones and the black
like
one.
iBooks or something.
because they had iBooks, and they had the first actual
Yeah.
MacBooks that were white.
Yeah.
I got one in August 07. Okay, that's more interesting, I guess.
It was
Because
like
I guess
mine had like a 60 gig hard drive.
mine
So
was
black one
80. and
The black
current
one was sick. It
500.
had that matte finish on it. It was
Yeah,
black one was cool.
yeah, it was pretty nice.
The white one though, that was nice. 'Cause it was like the first. That was the first computer I owned, like personally, that I owned. That I didn't have to
Yeah.
be like, get off, I want to play StarCraft. Like that was the first one, and I bought it when I was working at HP. Well, kind of selling HP products on the phone for another company, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So it makes more sense that Alex, you actually got a piece of hardware first because you worked in computers, right? At Future Shop. Was that when you were selling computers, or were you selling TVs? I don't remember.
I never
Anyway, you
sold
said
computers.
you're-
I only ever sold computers there.
Okay,
Poorly,
yeah, sorry.
poorly.
So what do you
Yeah,
guys
you
think
suck.
of
Most of what I do is done poorly, though. So I mean, in my defense, I suck at most
Hey
things.
man, no, Alex, you're great. You're great.
I was not fishing.
You're
for
great.
compliments.
It's called fishing for compliments, folks. But yeah, Alex had one, then I had one, then Matt had one, and then Alex's crashed, and I think mine crashed, and then Matt's crashed, and I'm still waiting for the one I have right now.
Mine
to
didn't crash,
because
it just
it's
replaced it 'cause it
over
was
5
junky.
years old.
Yeah.
It was junky. Okay,
It wasn't it wasn't junky, but I really
Going to
needed
happen.
I tried to get mine to mom, but mom got a new one. She got like a new laptop. She's like, I don't need this laptop
need
that my
that
son's
crap.
gifting me. I need that crap. It's junky.
What do you guys think of the possibility of Apple making a car, though?
I don't drive, so I don't really care.
Could not care less at this point. I think it'd be a self-driving car. Like I feel like at this point, if they're just getting into it, like I don't see why there's any reason why they would start with just like a regular
Which freaks
car.
me out. Self-driving cars kind of freak me out. How does it freak me out? I just don't trust
No,
it.
how
It
I'm
takes
just
a
wondering
lot
how,
of public transit, though. Will that's basically self-driving.
I would wonder how a self-driving car would do in Halifax, given the circumstances of the city these days.
Oh yeah. Probably
Snowbanks.
better than most other people driving. It's completely
Actually,
aware of
that's
its
true.
surroundings.
That's true. Yeah, I would have a better sense. I would have a better idea of who's behind you than anybody else.
I feel like if you have one on the road, you need all of them to be that way.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have just
You know
one
what I mean?
self-driving car and then a bunch
Yeah.
of just people with conscious people. I don't know what to try to say. You can't have one robot and a bunch of regular people. Although apparently we are getting a robot police officer soon, so that's exciting.
A robot.
RoboCop,
but
yeah,
crazy.
RoboCop's a real thing. Yeah, they'll make him black.
Bicentennial Man's a movie.
Oh yeah, that one with Robin.
So,
Robin Williams. RIP.
We were talking about Apple Watches, talking about Apple cars. Something I do on my iPhone all the time. I listen to podcasts.
Podcasts.
Alex, you
Your
finished listening
segues
to a
are
podcast.
so forced. I am
Segue
way
game.
behind
Strong.
on joining the rest of the world in listening to Serial story.
Podcast about milk and flour and whatever else goes into actions.
What about baking a cake? Oh, okay.
I don't think a lot of things
and
are
eggs.
flour based, Matt. They're usually like corn or oat or
Well,
rice
what do you turn the
based.
corn into?
Brand
Corn,
based.
flour.
Yeah, so I listened to Serial finally for the first time in a long time. Like
folks,
way behind on it.
Folks, if you wanted to finally hear what we thought about the Serial podcast way after the fact, I think even after Alex, Will, and I talked about it.
Well, I
There
didn't
you
really
go.
want to talk about it. It's just funny that I remember Will saying on our podcast, he's like, "Does that lady really not know how to say MailChimp?" And I didn't get the reference at all. And then I started listening to the Serial podcast, and I was like, I still don't get the reference at all because all the ads before my podcast were Audible.
Yeah,
none of them were MailChimp. And then I guess what happened was they changed the sponsor halfway through or partway through. So all the stuff I listened to was all with the Audible stuff. And it wasn't until someone played it for me later on that I finally heard the lady severely unable to pronounce the word chimp.
And once again, probably a non-English speaker natively.
Oh, 100% not a native English speaker. You can tell right away.
It's
She's
still the oddest way.
Male chimp? And she's like, male chimp. And she's like, sheep? And it's like, nope, neither of those are even really close to what we're talking about. But
maybe, you know what? Maybe we're too hard on that lady. And if you're listening to this show, lady, we apologize. You probably can't understand us anyway. Am I right or am I right?
So then, Will, I went back and watched that SNL parody.
Yeah.
And it made it like 100. Even though I knew it was pretty spot on when I watched it without ever hearing the podcast, going back and like hearing it, you're just like, this is so ridiculously, scarily accurate.
Well,
so well
man,
so
Cecily
good,
does such a good Sarah Kading impression.
Yeah, and then even Santa Claus like kind of doing like Adnan or whatever his name
Adnan,
is.
yeah.
You're kind of like, oh, that's actually very similar to that too.
Yeah.
And then Aidy Bryant doing the Christine Gutierrez in court. Wow. So good. So good.
Bang on.
The podcast was very interesting.
It's quite a phenomenon. Like it's just very like
for sure it blew up, and I know we're way late on it, so it's
but you're just like
spend a lot of time on it.
Like I started listening to it and I was like, I don't know about this, and then it's just like, but we'll see what happens next time. We'll see what happens next time and blah blah blah, and one thing leads to another, and by the time you realize it, you're done listening to the whole thing. And it's quite interesting.
Bob's your uncle, and you move on.
Bob's your uncle, Fran is your aunt. It's quite interesting that something so popular doesn't have an ending. Because it's like, well,
but it's also
don't know.
kind of interesting in terms of how it studies. The storytelling is kind of interesting. Like for the first couple of weeks, I was like, I don't know if I'm more interested in the story or the storytelling itself.
Yeah.
And then just talking to people kind of close to the matter, they're kind of like, well, why didn't you come forward with this information? They're kind of like, I assumed when the cops arrested a person and he was being tried for murder that they had the right person. You're just like,
how many people do you think just assume that?
Like,
you're just
like so overwhelmingly trusting in the legal system. Like, oh, they arrested him and proved he probably did it, and therefore, what do I have to say?
They think he's the guy. I guess. Sure. Okay. Yeah, he's the guy. Yeah, get him.
Girls, like if someone's going to come forward and be like, an excuse or like kind of, I can't remember the word she used, and she's talking to Sarah on the phone, but it wasn't alibi, and Sarah's like, yeah. That's you. Like, you are probably that, like, kind of savior in that point. Like, the one thing that might disprove everything. Now, it wasn't alibi, but I can't remember the word.
That's from the Asia McLean interview.
The Asia McLean interview,
yeah. What the heck is it's got a very specific legal term, right? She comes forward with
I
don't want to say affidavit. Maybe it's an affidavit.
I don't know. But it was coming from Asia herself, so I don't even think that had the technical term. She was just kind of like, if something was going to kind of exonerate him, like, you think it would come forward. And Sarah's like, yeah. It's you, dummy. If anything, it's you. So I don't know. Now, I mean, and the interesting about that whole thing is that on top of that, the podcast itself brought a lot of people forward, rather than just the investigation. So as the podcast starts airing, they're starting to pick up from other people, like a Phil guy that worked with Jay and this, that, and the other thing. So you kind of see how that builds. And I mean, that show could be anything. It could be a TV show, but it works so well as a podcast. Like, the medium works so well for it.
Yeah. I feel like did they sell the movie rights already? I feel like they may have.
I don't know. Who even wants to see that? Nothing happened.
Well, they would wait for the
for
the appeal process?
The appeal to see if it's a glorious story of mistaken guilt.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing to think of. So I don't know. Do you, well, we can talk about it now. So, Will, what's your opinion on that? I know we're probably talking about this.
Oh man, I truly do not know.
Okay.
I truly don't. I'm leaning towards him not doing it, but when they talk about sometimes people can just do something in a state of psychosis and not even realize they did it, and there it is. I'm just like, oh, maybe it was that. I don't know. I'm leaning towards Jay, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, why is the fact that Jay sided with the police early kind of got him away from being accused or thought of as being the guy who might have done it?
Well, he pled guilty to accessory, and another girl was like, "Why would he plead guilty to that if he knows he's going to say have jail time? Why would he plead guilty and then do that?" And Sarah's like, "Well, on a plea deal, he pled guilty and then served no jail time by assisting the police." And she's just like, oh, you're just like, yeah, so many assumptions being made. And I'm not saying I would handle it any differently as an outsider, but you're just kind of like listening to how misinformed everybody is in the fact. I don't know. Maddie, you're going towards him being.
Yeah, I more believe that it's not Adnan. I remember, and this is so silly. I read something probably in some sort of subreddit, probably in some corner of the internet or something like that.
Just
someone talked about this idea of, and I'm probably butchering the concept, but the idea of magical thinking, where if you don't witness something happen, you don't really believe it happened. And Adnan kind of fits that pretty well because a lot of the things he was saying about how he couldn't really believe he was dead and all that sort of thing fits very well in the fact that, like, well, he wasn't there when it happened. Someone just told him she was dead. It's hard for him to believe. It makes, at least that fits that kind of narrative. I know that's not kind of that wouldn't satisfy any legal requirements at all, but I think that's something that, at least for me, and it's not really, when it comes out at this point, it's not really about legal. It's kind of the court of public opinion.
I think, my thing is going back to not even looking at anything that's come up since, and I just kind of go, like, if I'm Adnan in that situation, like, I talk to the cops not knowing I'm a suspect, I get arrested, but I just assume the legal process is going to work itself out. Like, I'm so convinced of my own innocence because I am innocent that I'm not really worried about due process or anything like that, and that's where I go to it every time. So I don't know.
I keep being annoyed by when she would say things like, "Yeah, but how do you not remember what you did?"
I think just because she wants to, not necessarily that she can't believe he can't remember it, but she feels so close to solving something, and she's always a step off. And she's like, if you just remember this, like, we can solve it. And he's like, yeah, it was a random day 15 years ago. I don't know.
Like, I don't remember. Like, if you ask me right now, what was Thursday for you? I could come close. I wouldn't come that close.
But you're only going close off of, like, what would you normally do on a Thursday, rather than what happened that specific Thursday. What
and that was a Thursday. Thursday is,
Did you worked 11 to 8? Did you get to work at 11:15? Did you work at 10:50? Like, you don't really, like, think about it. Were you at this exact time on that exact day? You can't say. Yeah, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I guess, is the issue. I was probably here. I probably had track practice. I was probably this, but
it's a high school kid trying to remember 6 weeks ago. In high school, every day is so routine, especially given whatever day of the week it is. So you're just like, I probably did this because that's the day I do this thing, and then everyone else is like, I guess you did that. I mean, it's 6 weeks ago. And, it's what she opens the show with. It's like, how well can you remember something? Can you remember something 6 weeks ago? Can you remember every detail, every minute about that day? Because if you can't, then, you're going to have a hard time proving anything when you're questioned. Yeah.
Which sucks.
Which sucks, but it's it's the truth of the matter. You can only go by what people, remember. Not even what people know. Like, I guess it's more like, I say that sucks in the sense it's like, well, and they use that to kind of, I was going to say to hang him. He's not going to be hanged. Hung. Oh, hangs. Yeah, apologize for that butchering
Thank you for
of English.
correcting me incorrectly.
Well, I re-corrected myself.
You re-corrected his correction of incorrectly correcting you. Anyway, it's so dumb, like not dumb, but kind of. My apologies for talking about this podcast so late in the game. But it's
I haven't listened to it for a couple months, and I'm still interested in it. So hopefully, if any of our listeners have heard it as well, they're also interested.
Well, it's a very public case now, right? There's stuff that pops up
especially
online
now with
all
the
time.
appeal process.
How many criminals do you think are in jail and they're just like, hey, NPR, I was in jail for this long and I did this, but I didn't.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
If they could get podcasts.
If I get a podcast and people listen to, people.
Like, Adnan hasn't even heard it. He just reads transcripts, which is kind of sad.
Whoa.
No podcast in prison, man.
Yeah, you can't listen to it.
No, you can't. You can't have an Apple car.
It's not that he hasn't. It is that he hasn't, but he also cannot.
He's just not a fan. Just like, I don't like it.
I don't really like the sound of my own voice.
Did I get okay? Did you guys get the sense when you're listening to it, like there's like half an episode where you're like, wait, is she gonna confess to being in love with him?
Yep.
Yeah, for a bit. You know what hit me really weird for a point is he like wrote her a letter, like kind of outside the show that she read part of it, and it kind of like hit me in a weird way. I was just like, yeah, like he's just trying to keep himself above board and this, that, and the other thing. He's like thankful to her and wanting to be able to open up more, but at the same time can't. He's like, this is what it's been for 15 years. And like, why can't it just be, why do I have to be looked at through this lens all the time? So I just would rather be just a person.
Right, because he still is a person.
But it was weird. It was just a weird thing where I was like, oh, that was kind of like, not an emotional reaction, but sort of, like without, like, I didn't get teary-eyed or something. But you're just like, yeah, that sucks so bad. Because when he's talking to her, he's pretty congenial and forthcoming and seems rather, like, charismatic and all that. And then he's just talking about this. And it's like, yeah, this is what it is. And this is why I have to behave this way and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, and then there's that episode where she's like, I don't know, I'm interested in you as a person. I think you're a good person. He's like, you think I'm a good person? You don't know me.
He's like, that makes me want to shoot myself. Don't tell me I didn't do it because I'm a good person.
Right.
Point to the facts and tell me that the facts don't line up with what happened. Because telling me I'm a good person, you can't see me doing it, is useless to me. And if this is what I'm talking to you for like 30 hours, and that's your conclusion, it's kind of not been a waste of my time because I'm here anyway. But I mean, wasted effort on everyone else's end.
Right. I think part of that is also like she is coming from it from a not an investigator standpoint, but very much a journalist, very much just a regular person standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
She's not standing back from it. She is kind of bringing in all these human and at times emotional kind of sides to it, as we all would, I think.
I just
but it's just interesting
part
perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. A part I battle with is like how bad she is at asking questions, like actually just getting her thoughts out. She's like, because like. Do you know what I'm saying, though? Because it's weird, right? And, do you know what I'm saying? And you're like, I don't think you asked a question there. And then Aaand has to go back, figure out what she means, and then give his response based on what he thinks she means. So,
and that's the funny thing about the show. Is like she's hosting us through 12 episodes. And like, you're not like a really good host.
or from what I see, obviously you're doing something right to drag all this stuff out. At the same time, the way your actual method of communication is really bizarre to me.
I think that's born out of the fact that she's going very much on the fly with these interviews with them, and she's just kind of giving the raw interview of it. She can't really edit it. Like, somebody else might edit out her non-question and then just kind of line up a real question for him.
True. Well, then she needs a better editor. Because
fair enough.
Stupid.
Well,
if you haven't heard the podcast, we haven't really spoiled it enough to. It's very worth listening to.
I don't think do we even say Jay's name at this point? We may have.
We just did. I think we did.
Because
Will did because he thinks he's
Jay. Right.
But anyway, it's very worth listening to. It's a very engrossing thing. Like I started listening to it, I was like, I'll listen to it when I drive. Then I'll just be like at home and be like, maybe I'll just iron some shirts and put on the podcast, and I'll have it on when I'm cooking, and now it's over now. And what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
I had a very weird experience when I was listening to Serial and playing Ocarina of Time on my 3DS. That was my combination of things. So if you can imagine those two worlds coming together.
But do you find that hard to concentrate on certain
Did
things?
Ganondorf do it? Like, could Ganondorf have been there at the time?
It's pretty obvious.
Was he not with the Deku kids?
Yeah, well,
Deku
he was
tribes?
a Gerudo thief, and there's only one male born every 100 years. And,
if they just took attendance at track and field.
if they just did that.
Track and field.
Just did that. Well, one more thing, and I suppose we could talk about this for quite a long time, is that when they're like, okay, so we're going to try to do the trip, so the buses are leaving now, and we got to go, down here and turn on this, and it's like they said they did it in however many minutes, 30 minutes or something like that. Do you guys remember the part I'm talking about?
Yes, because he was saying there's not enough time for that.
When they do the trip, and she's like, yeah, we did the trip, and it's, it's close, but I don't know, I don't think they could have done it. I'm like, but you just did it. Didn't?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? She's just like, yeah, I don't think they could have done it, though. Yeah, it seems very unlikely. It's like, but you just did it.
There's some weird point, too, where she's just like with her assistant, and like her assistant says something, and Sarah just comes in. She's like, I don't think she really listens to me most of the time. You're just like, oh, that's awkward.
Oh, but it's good for the audience.
Dana or whatever her name is. But anyway, I don't know. It's fascinating, kind of.
It is fascinating. What a strange thing. It's the power of podcasts, folks. It's quite incredible. And NPR, obviously, no stranger to podcasts. I know Kevin Smith. He posted a screenshot of iTunes from like 2007, like the podcast landscape at the time. And I think it was like Smodcast, Adam Carolla, and then just a boatload of and various NPR podcasts. But NPR, I guess. I mean, we don't get NPR in Canada, right? Unless we listen to the podcast,
This American Life. Yeah,
unless This American Life. That's kind of our. I can't say I'm a big fan of NPR. I know some people are, but
I was going to ask, like, if This American Life is worth listening to. Do you listen to that?
I've listened to one or two, but not like.
But what's it? So what's it about, Matt?
It's just I think it's different journalists doing kind of different stories. Generally, I know like the one that I listened to bring it back to Apple was about a guy who told this story that he told in other places, but he told on NPR as well. Just about his experience, I believe, in going to China and looking at how people worked on Apple products, like seeing the factories. But he lied about it.
I was going to talk about.
But he lied about it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, he was
really
like he wasn't being
badly.
honest about it. So an NPR is, it's a journalistic endeavor. It's not just entertainment. They can't just lie about it and feel good about themselves. Pardon me. So that's what I've heard. I haven't heard a lot of other ones though.
I heard there's a really cool one called Invisibilia.
Okay.
Which is
I
about.
think I have that downloaded or something.
We're such a podcast of talking about other podcasts. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
which is fine.
That's fine.
If you listen to this one, you should listen to other ones too, folks.
Of course.
I've been devouring a bunch of WTF podcasts recently.
It's so good.
If you like,
man.
Serial is a podcast that's also I don't know if it's by NPR as well. I think it might be. It's called Criminal.
Okay. Oh, is that another mystery?
And it's very much in the same kind of vein. Although it's in the same vein of it has same thematically, but its episodes are quite different.
Okay.
The first one deals with a documentary. I think a documentary miniseries. I think I've talked about before called The Staircase.
Okay.
And
don't know that one.
Really, I didn't talk about that on the air.
Anyway, I don't think so.
So The Staircase is a miniseries that was done by a Canadian film crew, French-Canadian film crew. I only came across it because Ryan Johnson, the director of Looper, future director of Star Wars 8, and writer of that one and 9, he kind of recommended it on Twitter and just said, hey, you can find it. And it was on YouTube. Like, there was a few episodes. I think there's 8 of them, and they're all on YouTube. And because it's a bit older, I don't think there's anyone going to make a copyright claim on it. But it was essentially just about this guy who was, not targeted, but his wife died. And there's just some question of whether or not he did it. And it's a very interesting look at it. And yet the documentarians get a very intimate view of it. I'm not sure how they managed to get involved so early on in the process, but they see the family and they talk about the family. And it was the husband was married to a woman. They both had their own children, and one of her children sided with the prosecution, the state, whereas his children sided with him. And there's questions because he was bisexual and he hid that initially, and there's thoughts that maybe she found out and got mad at him. There's talk of prostitution. There's talk of all this other stuff. They go to Germany at one point for an episode. It was all very interesting. It was very, very interesting.
Man, my life is very mundane compared to that.
So if you can find The Staircase, you watch the first episode on YouTube. It's really good. It's really interesting. It's very well done. It's very much in that vein of Serial. And hey, if you like good true crime media, whether it's a podcast or a TV show or a film, like a documentary. Alex was mentioning The Imposter earlier on, a documentary you can watch on Netflix about.
I mentioned that in our conversation we had earlier today. I never mentioned the podcast.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm not
sorry.
privy to
Conversation that was a face-to-face encounter that we discussed that. But good true crime is good. True crime in any form of media is very engrossing, very popular. I think that's what Serial kind of found was there's not really a true crime landscape in podcasts. There's not one that was popular, and so to have one that kind of blew up the way it did makes sense because true crime people digest bad true crime all the time. When you give them good stuff, gosh, they just go crazy for it.
I mean, not even bad true crime, bad fake crime, too, with, like, the SVUs and everything like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Crime in general, people are interested. People like people breaking the rules.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
So the criminal podcast I was talking about, it's a 20-minute one about the possibility of owls being involved in the murder instead, and it might sound crazy, but it's a lot more interesting than you think.
Owls are terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying creatures.
What's worse, owls or... I was going to say owls or squirrels, but I meant owls or spiders.
Spiders, obviously.
Okay.
Or the very rare breed called the spider owl. You guys have seen these things?
That'd be
it's
terrible.
the size of an owl. That's a spider.
Yeah, well, how big's the barn owl then? My goodness.
I was listening to this Would You Rather on Comedy Bang Bang, like from a long time ago, and it was like, would you rather eat one John Goodman-sized turkey or one turkey-sized John Goodman?
I'm picturing a turkey-sized
It's
John
from
Goodman.
like 4 years ago. That's the funniest thing just on question alone. So I don't know. And I would say a a John Goodman-sized turkey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You'd have leftovers for days.
No, you'd have to eat in one sitting, wouldn't you? Isn't that the idea? Otherwise, it's not a challenge. Otherwise, you're just eating turkey and throwing the rest out.
You'd be so beyond meat sweats at that point. You'd actually be like, I don't know.
You would die. It would be meat death.
Yeah, you would die. You would
meet death from meat.
You would
death.
die to death.
You would die. You'd be killed by death.
Yeah,
KBD.
Death would overcome you. Death becomes her. That's my favorite I don't remember her name.
Bruce Willis movie.
What's her name?
Goldie Hawn.
Yeah. Sorry.
Anyway,
I don't know what
Gina Carano?
And as death comes at the end of all lives, so too does it come at the end of
Whoa.
this episode, guys. What do you think?
I think you just said one of us is gonna die.
I think all of us are gonna. Yeah, you're gonna die, and your father's gonna die, your mother's gonna die, in that order. Sorry, it's a Louis C.K. thing you may or may not have heard. It sounds very, very grim if you don't understand the joke. But that being said, guys, what do you say? We ride this off.
Hey, what do you say?
Yeah, it just may.
I like to go down by the bay and make things out of clay.
Thanks for listening this week. Yeah, to
you
the
can
podcast.
Catch me on Twitter. I'm at
talk about other podcasts.
Serial Podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, check out somebody interesting on Twitter, and we're on there too. I'm at William C. Vaughn.
I'm at MP Vaughn.
I'm at Evonix.
Holy crap! That's the first time that ever worked. BT does.
And we'll see you next week.
See you next week when we talk about.
Matt, you had one word to get right.
Yeah, you blew it. You blew it, kid. You're not going to make it an NBR.
Come back next time when our guest will be a different person. Can we get Ian Hanlon back on this, by the way? I missed that guy.
He doesn't want to do it. He's
wow.
Because he doesn't like you personally. He doesn't like you as people.
I don't like him as person either.
No, I don't either. I don't like him. I say he's a friend of the show. It's a lie. We're out, Matt, by the way, right? We're out?
We're out. We're not listening to this anymore.
Nope.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, there's nobody else here.
I don't like him as a man. I think he's bad. I think he's a bad
person. He's not a good person.
He's all around He Batman. No, he's not Batman. He'd want to be that.
Is he the baddest man on the planet?
He was the baddest man. He was Batman for Halloween a couple of years ago.
He's the addest man on the planet. No, that's Don Draper. That was bad.
Oh, God. All right. Well, we thought we couldn't end it any worse, and yet we did.
We managed to make it crappier than before.
Okay. Call your folks. Don't text. Call them. Bye.
Okay, J.K. Simmons.
All right. I wish I was.
Reese's Pieces.
No, M&M's.
Oh, okay. No, peanut butter M&M's.
No, he's the peanut one.
Peanut butter M&M's.
Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. I'm not going out on that, are we? No.
Yep.
Dang it. Bye.
I did.
No, you cut out, so it doesn't count.